Alright, so let's take a quick look at the setup of the Walking Dead scenario. You basically set the game up just like you would with the classic nightmare scenario from the first edition. You have your civilians on the different villages, you have the villagers that refuse to leave the village until a Zed has attacked the village. Then you have the different Zeds on the starting spaces of the different tracks. The tunnel track I already talked a little bit about. You have these new green diamond security guards that are placed active on the map from the get-go, and then you have your town center, which is actually quite bigger than in the first edition, and it's much easier to see what units are there. You start the game just like you would with the classic nightmare scenario. You start with 4 heroes. You get to choose one hero, and the other 3 should be drawn randomly. Now, I have to admit I did not do this. I think that it would be too difficult for me to record, talk and play with a suboptimal setup of heroes, so I've actually chosen my heroes myself. I chose all of them because I think that I don't know, it would be way too difficult. I tried to do the random setup, and I actually picked the scientist, Professor AG, because I thought that there are only 2 scientists, so I should probably pick one of them to be certain to have someone that can heal or research. And then I drew the other doctor, I drew the dog, and I drew the mayor, and it was terrible. Just a bunch of civilians, none of them could shoot, none of them could scavenge or do anything. So I said, yeah, this is not gonna work, this would be a nightmare, I would lose probably within 10 turns. So I decided to pick my own heroes. Beside that, there's actually nothing different than in the original setup. The only addition, like I said, is the tunnel track, and I've already talked a little bit about what the tunnel track is and such. So yeah, let's take a look at our heroes. Okay, so just a quick interruption. This is actually recorded in the future. This is the game state after a few turns have been resolved, and I was about to upload my first few parts to YouTube, and I actually realized that I had not talked about the objectives of the game. The terms and conditions for winning or losing the particular scenarios. The way you play this game is you prepare a stack of event cards, kind of like this. This is our stack of event cards, those that are remaining. The scenario in question, the standard Walking Zeds setup, has 44 event cards, and you have to get down to, well, basically you have to find an event card that says National Guard arrives. So that card in specific is somewhere near the bottom of the stack. You don't actually know where it is. It's not the last card. It's somewhere in the bottom 10 or 15. I don't remember the way I prepared the stack. The scenario outlines the way you should do that. So that's the objective. The objective for the players is to survive until the National Guard arrives. So you have to survive until you draw that card. For the Zeds side of the winning condition, they are trying to get into the town center, and as soon as one Z unit enters town center, the game is lost. So you have to stop them from reaching the town center. There is no fighting, there is no final battle. As soon as one of them reaches the town center, the game is lost. So that's just a quick look at how this game is played. You have a stack of event cards, and you're trying to survive long enough for the National Guard to arrive. You're also trying to keep the Zeds out of the main town center area, where basically all the survivors are huddled together, and if the Zeds reach that part, the game is lost. So okay, we continue with our regular programming. Alright, so here we have our band of rugged heroes that will defend Farming Wheel. what's it called? I don't even remember. Farmingdale. It's called Farmingdale. First off, we have our muscle. Basically, we have Captain Plaza. She's an elite sniper, and depending on how many spaces away from the enemy she is, she gets to use different values on her combat. Her best position is 2 spaces away. That's when her sniper rifle works the best. 3 spaces away she's semi-decent, and when you get in close the sniper rifle doesn't work as well. She also is a fast hero, so she can move 5 spaces instead of the normal 4 which the other heroes have. And she also has a special ability, Booby Trap. When a Zeds unit enters this hero space, she may roll a die. On a 4, 5 or 6, the trap is sprung and that Zed unit suffers 1 hit and this hero retreats. So she can evade enemy Zed units, which is really useful, but if you do not manage to do that, she's really weak in hand-to-hand combat. So okay, that is the sniper. Then we have the Sheriff Hunt, and he's basically also our muscle, and he's a semi-long ranged shooter. He can actually shoot 2 spaces away. He has this ability, long range, in gunfire combat, can target Zed units 2 spaces away with a penalty, but basically he becomes as strong as Captain Plaza when she is 2 spaces away. The other abilities that he has, leadership, so he can order a civilian or refugee unit to take a free move if he's adjacent or next to that unit in question. So he can order them to move, he can order them to forage, he can order them to build barricades and such. Is really useful for defending certain places on the map. He also has martial arts. In hand-to-hand combat you are allowed 1 reroll, but you must accept the result of that roll. Then his best ability, I think, is he is tough. For each hit that is scored on this hero, he can roll a die, and on a 4, 5 or 6 that hit is cancelled. That is extremely useful, especially since you would actually want him to be in the thick of battle, ordering civilians to take free actions and being able to shoot over the civilians targeting Zeds that are close by. So next up we have Professor AG, PhD. She is our scientist slash doctor. She's actually better at science than at being a doctor, but she can also function as a doctor. Her special ability, science. This hero may be assigned to a hospital or a laboratory, so she can either research or heal units. She's better at researching. Bioengineering, PhD, receives 2 dice when she conducts a research action. Normally you would just use 1 die to conduct research, but she can do it with 2 dice, and then you have a higher chance of succeeding. Decontamination, when restoring order, that's basically when removing chaos markers from the map, and chaos markers are added when Zeds overwhelm a village or a named space. Then that space is basically in chaos, fires break out, riots, looting. Well, I don't know if there is so much rioting and looting going on while there are a bunch of zombies running around, but there's chaos in the area, and she can basically any friendly unit except the refugee unit can restore order. Also the dog cannot restore order. That would actually be quite hilarious if the dog could restore order, but if she does restore order, this hero automatically reduces the infection level by 2. By 2 if the super weapon is discovered, or by 3 if the antidote is discovered, instead of the normal 1. So she has some extra abilities coming from a scientific background. And then we have one of my favorite characters, Mr. Johnson, and he basically says "Puh" to science, and he's a crazy Hasidic Jew. with a massive gun, and his abilities, he comes into play with stockpiles. So when this hero is revealed, you immediately gain 1 supply and 2 ammo points, including when selecting during setup. We will take a look at that later when I discuss my opening ammo and supply points. Also, he has heavy weapons, which I think you can see that by his image. He holds a massive gun, and what heavy weapons do is in gunfire combat he receives 2 positive shift to the right when attacking. And his, I think one of his major selling points, he's a scavenger, and he can use 2 dice when conducting a forage action. So when searching for ammo or supply, he can actually use 2 dice and use the highest result. Also, if you roll doubles and succeed on that roll, you get to choose, or you get to take 2 of those, of either the supply or the ammo, depending on what space you are on. The same is also true for Professor AG. If she rolls doubles and succeeds during her research roll, she will also conduct 2 research points instead of the normal 1. But like I said, this guy's hilarious. He's awesome. I think him and the crazy trucker are probably my favorite heroes in this game. I just love this. On the backside they have this kind of a background story or such. It basically says that he's a paranoid Hasidic Jew. So I'll just love it. It's awesome. Yeah, so those are my heroes, and I will continue with the next step of the setup. Alright, so the next part here is to take a look at the starting values of our different ammo supplies, levels and such. We begin the game by rolling randomly for ammo and supply, and I've already done this, and as you can see, both the ammo and supply tokens are actually placed on the 8th number of the track, and that's because I think I actually rolled 6 ammo and 7 supplies, but with the Mr. Johnson's crazy supply backpack that he had with him, he actually increases the supplies by 1 and the ammo by 2, so they both ended up at 8, which is decent. I think that's a middle of the road. Getting more supplies is certainly good, but I think the rolling 6 for ammo is amazing, so I was really lucky there. Other than that, the player action marker is placed on 0 at the start of the game. The research marker is placed on 0 at the start of the game. And this is something that I should have shown during the components. This is the new infection level marker, and this is just amazing. I think it's a great looking marker. I really like that they did something different with this marker in particular. So that starts at 0. There is no infection spreading just yet. Besides that, we have the hospital and the refugee camp up here. The hospital is where the civilians go when they die, and the refugee camp is where you can store refugees for. Well, you can either use them to re-equip some civilians, or you can store them in the refugee camp to gain some extra victory points at the end of the game. Even if you store them in the refugee camp, you can still access them and take them out of the refugee camp to re-equip some civilians. So I think it's a good idea to actually just put them into the refugee camp, and then if you really need them, just take them out at the beginning of the action phase and re-equip some civilians. Okay, so that's basically the entire look of the setup. So I will be back with the first turn of the game. Okay, so before we take our first turn, let's just take a quick look at the sequence of play sheet here. So for those that are not familiar with this game, you can kind of get acquainted with how a turn works and what happens. I will not try to explain all that much during gameplay. I will just try to go through the motion, take the turns, resolve the different phases, but I will reference this sequence of play now and then probably, and I'll also try to simply explain what everything means so that people are not feeling lost while watching this. The first thing that you do at the beginning of a new turn is you draw a event card, and these are the driving engine of the game. This is where the AI does all of its stuff. They move, they attack, they gain some special abilities and such. Depending on the event card in question, they could actually have some benefits to you, but most of them are detrimental to the players and good for the AI. After you have drawn the event card, you resolve the event card in different phases. So first we have the triple R phase. I think this was called the refugee phase in the first edition, but this is Raiders, Rangers and Refugees phase in the second edition. They combined everything together, so if you have Rangers or Raiders on the map, they will also move and attack and do different things. After that you check for outbreak and check the infection level, and this is what I like about this sequence of play sheet, is that it's you can see here that it's colored green, so it simply moves over to the outbreak procedure box here if you do have an outbreak, so you can easily see what you need to do during a outbreak. And I think I will be taking a look at this for the first outbreak, just to kind of show the sequence that you go through. After the outbreak you check for supply consumption, and this basically depends on how many fully functional civilian units you have, and at the beginning of the game you will probably always have to consume, but as the game progresses and the civilians get wounded or killed, this will lessen more and more. You will also have less supplies, so that's a good thing. Then we have the Zeds phase. Remember, this is all on the event card, so this is the part of the event card still. So the Zeds phase, that's where the Zeds will move, they will attack if there is any fighting and such. And you do this in order one by one until all the Zeds have done their thing. And then you get to your phase, which is the action phase. The event card will say how many actions you get to take during this turn. The really bad ones only give you like one action, and that's pretty terrible. It's pretty hard. Difficult to actually know what to do with that action, and almost always you will regret whatever you choose for that action. But that's just a quick look at how the turns work in this game. And I don't know if this is too far zoomed out, but you can see the entire map when the zoom level is like this. And I also thought that it would be a good idea if people could see my dice tray when I roll, so that it's easy to cheat if you don't show people. So, oh yeah, I rolled 12. Yeah, so I don't know. I think I will be showing the dice tray for now, but I don't know, if I notice that it's not clearly visible what I'm trying to do here, I might actually zoom in and take away the dice tray or take away the infection level up there. But I think that it's fairly useful information to see what infection level we are on, what our supplies of ammo and the food supplies are, if I have done any research and such. So I will leave it at this for now. I hope that it's not too cluttered, that you can actually see what's going on the map, but we will see if I can adjust this later on. Okay, so it feels like every video I start, I begin by saying that we will start playing, but then I start babbling on about different things here and there and try to explain things that I've probably explained before. But that's okay. That's the nature of the thing. I did just realize another use for this dice tray. I can actually show you the cards and such in close view. I can bring them up here so you can see them, so I don't have to read behind the camera without you being able to follow. So now for real, let's just draw our first event card and start playing this game. I will draw the card here and I will place it in the dice tray. We can see Wandering Zeds, it's called. Triple R movement 1. That would be the refugees, rangers and raiders, but we don't have any of that on the board, so we can just skip that phase. Outbreak 8+, it says. That would basically mean if the infection level is at 8 or higher, there would be an outbreak, but the infection level is 0 at the moment, so there is no outbreak. Consume supplies, no, so we don't have to consume any supplies. And then we get to the Z movements, and this is also something new that I forgot to talk about in the intro and when showing off the cards. In the first edition, they had an asterisk at the phase where the special event of the card would take place, but in this game they actually have this black border behind the explanation or the information about the phase. So for instance, if it would have been during the triple R movement, the number 1 would be white with a black box around it. So this special event takes place during the Zeds phase. So then we have to read and see what this event is. So it says, at the beginning of the Zeds phase, make a fate draw. Select one non-start space on that track occupied by a player unit and conduct an immediate Zeds attack on the equal to column of the combat table with normal shifts and infection effects. Your units suffer losses only and do not retreat. Okay, so we have to first do a fate draw, and these are the fate cards. So we draw one, and up here is where we take a look at for this particular event in question. We still have to resolve the entire card, but for the event in question it says where. And the answer is player's choice. We get to decide where on the board this Zed's attack will take place. And I will take a look at the board and come back after I have decided. Okay, so I have decided that this special Zed attack will take place here at Lefty's Pass. The reasoning for this is the zombies here, or the Zeds here, are fairly weak. They only have a combat value of 3, and if you choose a spot on the map where the zombies are tough and you actually are unlucky in this roll, you could take quite a lot of damage to your civilians, and when the zombies or the Zeds get to your village, you will have a really tough time defending. So I think it's a good idea to choose the track where the zombies are weakest. It doesn't really matter how strong your civilians are, because you will be rolling on the equal to value on the table. And I will come back when I have adjusted the camera for that. Alright, so now that we have chosen our place for the attack, like I said, it doesn't matter what strength your civilians are at, because you will still use this equal to column here, and you will adjust normally as you normally would. So if you choose a civilian with a 4 strength, it would face a zombie with a 4 strength. If you choose a civilian with a 2 strength, it will face a zombie with a 2 strength. So the hits and the damage inflicted both from you and from the zombie attacking would be the same. So generally it's best to target where Zeds are weakest. The first thing that happens though, the card said that the normal infection and the shifts happen. So the first thing that happens is the infection level actually goes up by 1. Every hand-to-hand combat increases the infection level by 1. This is no different than any other combat. So we shift the infection level to 1, and then we have to roll dice. But before we do that, we also can shift. Since this attack actually happens in a village, village is a semi-fortified location, and it will give you a bonus for defending that village. So we can actually shift the column 1 space in our favor. So instead of the equal to column, we will be using the less than, which means that we will have a higher chance of taking less hits and inflicting more damage on the zombies. We also have a higher chance of not having to retreat the unit from the area in question. So okay, let's see. I will roll for the attack, and that's terrible. That's completely terrible. That's a 10. That's quite a lot. If we take a look at the less than column and we go down to number 10 here, match the column, we see that the first number is a black 1 and the second number is a red 2. That basically means that the attacker takes 1 damage and the defender takes 2 damage and has lost the fight. The red numbers represent the unit that has lost the fight. So not only did we take more damage, we lost the fight. Basically the damage on the zombies doesn't matter. It's not a unit that comes into play, it's just some unit that attacks us during this turn. So okay, that was pretty terrible. I will come back when I have adjusted the camera.